Welcome, everyone, to our live demo session. My name is Ryan Mullen. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Cleo. I am joined by my colleague, Shane Hagan, who's a member of our Solutions Architect team. He's the brains of the operation, and he's going to be the one walking through the platform here very, very shortly. Thank you again for attending live. We do these demo sessions every other Thursday. We always like to mix them up based on use case, industry, applications. So today, we're going to be overviewing the procurement side of the business and how you can automate communication with your supplier network. 2 Thursdays from now, I wouldn't be doing my job as a marketer if I wasn't plugging a future webinar. But 2 Thursdays from now, on December 4th, Shane's actually going to be showing off our ability to directly integrate into SAP S4HANA. So if you are an S4HANA user, double back. It'll be a totally new demo and different live webinar. With that, 2 areas of housekeeping. We will be sending out today's recording. That will hit your inbox early next week. It always comes from our customer marketing manager, Jill Barlow. So Monday or Tuesday, please keep an eye out for that note. Maybe something to enjoy during some downtime over the Thanksgiving holiday. And then lastly, we will be saving time for questions. So Shane's got a good prompt there. Please, as they come to your mind, don't wait till the end. Drop them in that Q&A box that's highlighted. We're going to be carving out, again, maybe 5 to 7 minutes at the end. If we run out of time for whatever reason, I promise we will have a Cleo representative reach out to you directly with an answer. But we'll do our best to address all of them. So with that, Shane, please take it away.
Cool. Thank you, Ryan. So we will get straight into it here. I'll do a quick introduction. My name is Shane Hagan. I'm a solution architect with the Cleo team. Been with the team for about 2 years now, really a technical counterpart to our sales and go-to-market teams. And we'll be talking about procurement automation or direct procurement automation with the Cleo Integration Cloud today, as Ryan kind of mentioned. So let's just get straight into it. I have a couple slides here that I'd like to flash. The first one being the different channels of automation or orchestration that Cleo can do with your supplier network. So this diagram really highlights those 2 paths in from your supplier ecosystem on the right-hand side. We have large enterprises that are capable of some form of direct automation, whether that's through EDI or API connections. And we'll, of course, be able to support that connectivity and the data formats that those large enterprises can work with, right? We also have a supplier testing portal where suppliers are able to self-certify and verify that the information and transactions that they're generating on their side meet the specs that we've defined for that relationship. So they can test their purchase orders or rather the return documents that they'd be sending on purchase orders, whether that's acknowledgments, shipment notices, or invoices. And then on the other side of that, for less technical firms that you might see in your supplier network, where maybe it's more mom and pop shops or smaller organizations that don't necessarily have an EDI practice, we have a supplier portal on the bottom right there, where folks are able to access the purchase orders that you're sending them and then send back the return documents, the order acknowledgments, the ASNs, invoices, and whatever other else or whatever other documents you might be exchanging with those suppliers. And the beauty of all of that is that all flows through the Cleo Integration Cloud. It flows through the same integrations that we would build for both types of suppliers. So you can have the same visibility, the same governance, the same kind of checks and validations that you're doing for all of your suppliers, regardless of how they interact with you. What we'll be going through today is the CIC Cockpit. And this is that end-to-end operational dashboard that's going to sit on top of these integrations so that you see exactly what's going back and forth between your partners and your enterprise systems on the left-hand side here. So not only is Cleo able to support this portal and support the direct EDI and API connections that we're making with your suppliers, we're also able to directly integrate with your applications on the left-hand side. So whether this is your purchasing or your ERP application, where we are directly pulling purchase order information and we are updating purchase order information or creating new record types on your ERP, depending again on how that ERP system supports this information, we'll be able to work with that in whatever interface that ERP system or purchasing system uses. So that's a high level look at the Cleo solution. And again, end-to-end automation from your perspective, regardless of how your supplier does business with you, whether it's through direct EDI connections or through this portal. I do want to flash this since we will be focusing mainly on the day-to-day monitoring and visibility and troubleshooting that you can do within the CIC platform for your supplier connections. But I do want to flash a quick look at some of the other capabilities that I did mention in that last slide. So we'll be taking a look at the integration layer, the visibility layer in the CIC Cockpit. That's kind of the first interface that we're seeing a picture of here. We have that testing portal that I mentioned where suppliers can verify their information that they are creating on their end, make sure it matches specs that we've agreed upon. The supplier portal is that portal that folks can interact with if they're on a doing a non-EDI or they're a low tech firm that would use the portal. And then lastly, we'll see this today as well, is the supplier relationship management. So if you'd like to put some governance or some monitoring over these connections that are happening back and forth and make sure suppliers are responding to you in time, whether that's for orders or shipment notices or invoices, you can monitor their timeliness to make sure they're meeting metrics that you would expect from them. Now, we'll see a couple of these in the webinar today. But if you have any desire to see more on maybe it's a full supplier portal demo or a supplier testing portal demo, please reach out to us and we're happy to take you through that as well. All right, so that's my quick overview. Let's jump into a demo here. I'm going to switch my screen share. Give me a second. All right. All right, we are switching to my browser. All right, very good, very good. So we should be seeing my browser now. This is the Cleo Integration Cloud cockpit. And what we're seeing here is a dashboard or the landing page for a user. You see some aggregate charts for the transactions that are moving back and forth in your supplier environment. So this would be the case for both EDI or direct suppliers that you're connecting with, or portal suppliers. You see the same visibility, the same level of governance, regardless of how you're doing business with them. So if I open up one of these charts here, I'll click into the outbound purchase orders. It shows us a breakout or a list view of all of those purchase orders that are going out to our partners. We see some high level information like the purchase order number, the partner that it's going to. You can configure and customize this dashboard. So if you'd like to see different information surfaced out of these documents, maybe it's purchase order dates, and you don't want to see SCAC code. I don't know if there would be a SCAC code on these. So we can add purchase order date here. So you can really configure this to see the information that you'd like to see at a quick glance. On the left-hand side is where you can search and filter through this information. So whether you're looking for documents from a specific partner, issues that might be associated with any of these SLA monitoring, that timeliness monitoring that I mentioned earlier, we can filter by the status on those documents, and I'll touch a little bit more on this in a bit. The acknowledgement status, so for those direct EDI connections, seeing which documents have been acknowledged or if they have various statuses. Search through additional message types. We're seeing all of the message types that I support in my demo environment here. And then lastly, the message details. So if you have, for instance, a vendor invoice number, and you'd like to find the original purchase order that that's linked to, you'd be able to search for that invoice number, and it will take you to the transaction chain that we'll see here in a second, so that you see all of the documents that are related to a specific transaction. So if I open up one of these here, and let's pick one in the middle here, this one from Fastenal, or to Fastenal rather, we will see a high level view of the purchase order. So we see some key fields surfaced in the middle here. This is configurable. So if you'd like to see other information surface out of these orders, we can absolutely do that. This is really what we've picked for my demo environment. We kept it pretty light here. But you'll notice on the left-hand side, you're seeing all of the transactions that were related to this purchase order. So we see the inbound return order acknowledgement from our supplier. We see the shipment notice that they've sent us, and we see the invoice. So this is obviously a pretty straightforward or basic example with the core 4 documents that we see in this use case. But if you have other transactions that you do with these suppliers, maybe you have an order change process, you would see those order changes coming back and forth. If this purchase order was shipped over multiple shipments, we would see multiple ASNs linked together here. So you would have the full context of the order and the transactions that moved back and forth. There is some technical information in here if you are a technical user and you'd like to see exactly how this was processed, or you want to see the source and target information. We can click the hyperlink at the top right-hand corner. Here's where we would see, here's where we would see the source data. So this is information coming out of our application, whether it's our ERP system or our purchasing application. We see it here in a flat file format, but like I mentioned earlier, we can support any file format or integration interface, whether that's APIs or file-based, and whether it's XML, JSON, or whatever file type is used. And then you can see the translated message here. We have a pretty bare bones 850. Whoops, I keep clicking on the outside of the box there. So you can see the outbound document that went to the partner, and that would apply for any of these transactions here. The message lifecycle at the bottom would show us all of the integration logs. So how did that connection go with our ERP system? What did the Cleo transformation engine do in the middle? How did we get it from one format to the other? And then ultimately how it was delivered to the partner. So you'd be able to open this and see the logs from each of those steps. I won't go through all of that because it's is mostly relevant for some very, very technical folks. So I'll back up a little bit here. And I do want to flash one last thing. We do have 2 different views for these documents. So you have the document view and you have your overview. And really what this will do is use some AI to help us format these documents in a PDF readable format or a human readable format. And this isn't a great example. I picked a bare bones 850, of course, for my demo here. Let me find another one here, just to show you a solid example of a order. We'll see the overview for this one, and it would show us all of the detail in a much more consumable way rather than looking at EDI information. You'll be able to see this in a human readable format with the ship to and bill to information and the line items that were on that order. The next piece I'd like to cover here is the issues, right? Everything that we're seeing here is all successful. Everything went through smoothly. There were no issues. So when something does come up, when an issue does pop up in your environment, we will generate a notification, and that will send you an email, and that email will take you to the issues dashboard here. This issues dashboard will collect all of the errors that are happening in your environment, and you'd be able to search and filter on those. So we have whether it's by ticket status or the document that is affected or the category of issue. So if I want to look for any issues with my purchase orders, I could click on purchase orders here, and I see that I have issues with this Meyer 850 purchase order. When I click on this, it shows me a couple different tabs. This first tab here is the technical information that's captured during that transformation process or during that integration process. And here we can see it's a mapping failure. It gives us the step in the map that failed, and it gives us the error message. And the error message, if you're technical or familiar with transformation processes, you can see why this failed. Our destination field is expecting a decimal, and we provided a ZZ value. So we could go about fixing this in a couple different ways. We could update our maps and maybe do a conversion from ZZ to 00, for example. Or maybe we update our target destination and force it to accept alphanumeric characters, for example. So a couple different ways you could go about doing that. But regardless, once you fix that problem, we see here we have 32 messages that are impacted by this same issue. So the issues dashboard is capturing all documents that have the same root cause failure and surfacing that here so that when we click on that and say we fixed that problem, maybe we updated our maps, we can come in here, click the checkbox to select all of those purchase orders and resend them to our supplier with this reprocess message at the top right-hand corner. So that's how you would bulk reprocess and fix certain types of issues. This would, of course, apply for maybe connection failures. Maybe the supplier's connection is down and you would like to reprocess once their connection is back up. The issues dashboard would capture all of those documents impacted by that connection problem and let you reprocess once that connection is fixed. The other thing I'd like to point out here is the summary tab. This is an AI-assisted, what we call the intelligent error resolution tab, where it is spelling out what happened in a, again, human readable or English user-friendly way to tell you what happened with this error and gives you some recommended action plans on fixing it. This is all based off of a knowledge base from our team so that you're working off of real data and real suggestions so that you can fix these errors quickly. The last tab that I'll touch on here is the discussion tab. So this is where you could communicate with other internal users or communicate with the Cleo support team if you have engaged them to help fix any issues. So that's the issue resolution. I do, and if you have any other, if any folks on the webinar here have some examples of issues that maybe they run into commonly, and you'd like any examples on how Cleo would fix that, please drop that in the chat, and we could touch on those at the end, or reach out to you and address those with you directly. So the other piece I'd like to touch on here is the supplier relationship management. And I mentioned this earlier, it's the SLA monitoring that Cleo can do to monitor for supplier responsiveness. So if I come up to this network tab here and I open up one of my suppliers, let's use Acme as an example, and I go to the relationship management tab, I see here the metrics that we're monitoring on for this specific supplier. So at the top, we're seeing the some of these common metrics: on-time order acknowledgement, on-time shipment, on-time invoicing. And this will be based off of information that you're providing to the supplier. So in your purchase order, you say, hey, respond to this by this time or this date. We will pull that information out of that order and start monitoring on that. So if you put an expected response time in your purchase order, we pull that out and monitor on that. If you don't provide one, we'll have a fallback option or a fallback time period here that will fall back to if you don't provide that information. We'll send a at-risk notification if the supplier is close to missing that time frame. You can also track any potential financial impact that this might have if there's issues with maybe forecasting or production that this would cause downstream issues to. You can potentially track that impact that it would have on the financial side of things. So these are some of the standard metrics that we support for supplier relationship management, but you can monitor on custom metrics as well. So any transactions that we're moving back and forth within Cleo, you can put these same monitoring metrics on. So whether it's response times for other document types that you're doing with your suppliers, or if it's volumes that you expect to do with a supplier. Maybe you expect to receive X number of shipment notices from a supplier or X number of invoices. You can put that in here as a monitoring for expected volumes. And like I said, if you're doing other transaction types here, you'd be able to configure this to support any other transactions that you're moving through the Cleo environment to your suppliers. The last thing I want to point out here is the scorecarding. So we are obviously collecting that performance information over time, and we can build partner scorecards. So if you'd like to see the on-time shipments or the on-time order acknowledgments that your suppliers have with you, we will build these high-level scorecards out so you can see their performance over time. You can select your own time frames at the top right-hand corner here. And then when you click into this will also break out those documents or those purchase orders that are making up this performance. So we're seeing here our performance with Meyer over time. We see all of our orders down here, and it's breaking out our the response times and the actual performance times with that supplier. So that's some of the scorecarding that we'll do on top of the supplier network to make sure everything is running smoothly and there's no problematic suppliers. If you can use this to make some data-driven decisions on your supplier network, whether it's improving cycles or improving timeliness with those suppliers. We want to make this information as accessible as possible. All right. So those are typically the things I flash for the supplier automation use case. I know we have about 7 minutes here, and I think we have a couple questions in the chat. So Ryan, why don't we pop open the chat and see what we're working with?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple questions on the scorecards that you showed. I think if I kind of consolidated and summed them up, maybe how flexible is the customization and creation of the supplier scorecards? Are the supplier scorecards?
So right now the scorecarding is based on those standard metrics that we saw in the relationship management tab. So I'll flash this again. So right now we build scorecards specifically on these performance metrics, but we will be expanding that to support any custom metrics or any other metrics that you might be adding to that supplier network.
Good. Does our supplier also have to be using Cleo to register in the supplier scorecards?
No, absolutely not. So this would strictly be based on the supplier's performance with us. They don't need to be using Cleo in order for us to monitor on the responsiveness or the timeliness of their responses. So they could be using any solution provider, and we would be able to build the same monitoring.
Okay, excellent. Is there a training process on how to use the scorecarding feature?
Yes, we do have extensive training available to our customers so that you can enable and onboard your teams to be able to use this yourself.
Okay, and we have two really good questions that just came in. I don't know if we have enough time, but are you showing the supplier portal for non-EDI partners? And then also there was a question in regards to what the suppliers would see on their side.
Yes, so we are going to flash that here. Let me bring it open. So this was a really good question. I'm going to unpause my my demo here. So this is what the supplier portal looks like for non-EDI suppliers. So when you send a purchase order from your ERP system or from your purchasing system, those POs will show up in this portal. And from here, the supplier can respond to them. If I open up one of these orders, we will see all of the information from that order. And then we can click to respond with these various document types that we've enabled for that supplier. So if they'd like to acknowledge this, they click purchase order acknowledgement and fill out the acknowledgement information. We will mark in the portal here the fields that are required for a response. So we can effectively put up guardrails here so that we're getting all the information that we'll need from the supplier in order to do business with them. So this is a quick idea of what it looks like. A similar view for a shipment notice. You will be able to pack that shipment notice to represent it on how it was packed up and shipped in the physical world. You'll represent that in the portal here, and then be able to generate labels and packing slips that they can attach to those shipments so that they're in compliance with what your warehouse expects when receiving these shipments. I don't have time here in the next 3 minutes to pick and pack everything. But if you'd like to see a full demo of the supplier portal, reach out to us and we can take you through the whole supplier experience here.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's important, right, to show this, because this is an offering we're able to provide to your suppliers. Now, regardless if your suppliers are going through this fulfillment portal or not, right, your scorecarding features, to the earlier question, will still pick up on acknowledgments, on ASNs, all the expectations that you have from your suppliers. But if they did adopt the fulfillment portal on their side as well, you can kind of see how this makes life a little bit easier in regards to doing EDI. And it also gives you a unified approach as well, right? So fantastic. Okay, we have one more question. And I think this is back to the supplier portal or the buyer side. Can this send forecasts to the supplier?
Absolutely. So the web EDI portal or the supplier portal that we're seeing here can support any EDI transaction. And there are forecast documents that can be represented as EDI transactions. So whether that's an 830 or a different forecasting document, we'll be able to add that to your supplier portal capability and send those forecasts directly from your ERP system to your supplier, and they'll be able to see those here. Great.
I think you hit every question. So fantastic. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, everyone in the audience, for joining us. As I mentioned, we will be getting you a recording early next week. Please keep an eye out for that email. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the upcoming weekend, and enjoy the holiday. Thanks again.